Hi, welcome to Evidence for Faith. I want to take you to Jerusalem to show you a really interesting place. A lot of people walk right by. As tourists go through this, they walk right by this many times without even noticing it. It's called the Double Gate. It's on the south side of the Temple Mount, but it's a very important place. And there's something very historic that is still seen here today. So join us as we go to Jerusalem. Okay, I'm standing right now on the southern side of the Temple Mount. This is the southern walkway. Just straight out from me, as I'm looking out, I can see the city of David. And over to my extreme left is the Mount of Olives. The structure we're standing right next to is not from the temple period. This is later. This was from the Crusades. And the Crusaders built a large fortress here. But there is something here, two things I want to show you. First of all, as I've said in previous lessons, the second temple, Herod's temple, was destroyed, of course, in 70 AD during the first Jewish revolt. But then there was a worse revolt. In the Bar Kokhba revolt, which happened in around the 130s, when Hadrian was emperor, he devastated this area, and he flattened out the temple area and built a temple to Jupiter. We know from historical records of the Romans and also Josephus that he built a huge temple that sat up here for a couple hundred years. It's gone. It's been destroyed. When Constantine became emperor, Helena had it destroyed. But there is a remnant of that temple, and it's on one stone straight above me. I don't know if you can make this out, but it is a stone that has Latin writing on it. The historian Dio Cassius, now he was a Roman historian and senator who published, well over 80 volumes of history on ancient Rome. In his book, Roman History, he writes of Emperor Hadrian building a temple to Jupiter on the site of Herod's temple. Other historians also write about this. In fact, a man known only to us as the Bordeaux Pilgrim. How about that for a name? The Bordeaux Pilgrim. We don't know what his real name was, but he wrote a book by the same title, The Bordeaux Pilgrim, about a journey that he took to the Holy Land. And he wrote this and took this journey around 333, 334 AD. Now, in this account, he writes that the temple to Jupiter stood over the place of the Jewish temple. He wrote that two statues of Hadrian sat there near the place where the Jews were still continuing to come to anoint and tear their clothes in anguish over the destruction of their temple. Today, the only remains of the temple to Jupiter is one of the stones from one of those statues the Bordeaux Pilgrim mentioned. From other historians, we know that the statues were dedicated to Hadrian, by Hadrian, to his adopted son, Antonius Pius, who would later succeed him as emperor. Later, even, we can read that St. Jerome wrote, this would have been around 398 AD, in his commentary on Matthew, that a statue of Hadrian mounted on a horse was still standing at his time on the Temple Mount. Now, these statues were probably destroyed during the time of the Byzantine Christians, or maybe later with the Jews in around 614. We do know this, that later the Muslims, around 638 AD, they utilized this one stone, pulling it out of the rubble, to build the current wall we see today. The inscription, which is written upside down in English, reads, "To Titus Aelius Hadrianus, Antonius Augustus Pius, the father of the fatherland, Pontifex Augur, decreed by the Decurions." So that's what it reads. So it's a mount that was probably on one of those statues, because it's talking about how Hadrian dedicated this statue, these statues, to his adopted son, Augustus Pius. Also, right here beside us, you're going to see the structure that's sort of curved here, and there is a seam that comes down along this, and there's a doorway, an actual walkway through here. There was also a second one. This is often called the gate. The double gate is where people generally came out of the temple. And these gates, this one, and we're going to show you another one just in a moment, called the triple gate, just down a little ways, is the main entrance to and from the temple. Coming in through the triple gate, coming out through the double gate, and they're sometimes called the beautiful gate because inside, today they're sealed up, but inside back in those days, and even today, where the Muslims have sealed it off, there is still beautiful artwork and stuff inside those. But this is the double gate. This was a main doorway for the temple, for people coming to worship and stuff. Wasn't that a fantastic trip to Jerusalem? Seeing something that most people don't even notice. They walk by it, they don't even notice that. But how cool is it to see pieces of history? And I want to thank you for joining us. Join us again for another little trip to Jerusalem on our website. Thanks for joining us. Until we meet again, take care and may God bless.
Thanks for tuning in, and thank you to our donors who make this program possible. Evidence for Faith is a 501c3 nonprofit ministry based in the USA. You can support this broadcast by donating online using the links in the description, and don't forget to leave us a comment, a review, likes, and shares to feed the algorithm and help others find this content. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.